Welcome to It's Not Just Menopause, the podcast that empowers you to navigate midlife with confidence through real talk, root cause insights, and no BS strategies that actually work. If you're dealing with fatigue, stubborn weight, brain fog, or just feeling off and overlooked, this show is for you. Discover what's really going on with your hormones and why it's not just about estrogen. Each episode breaks down what your doctor didn't explain, the internet got wrong, and what your body's been trying to tell you all along. From stress and metabolism to nervous system support and functional nutrition, we'll cover the tools that help you feel more like yourself, again, without restrictive diets, overwhelming plans, or hormone hype. I'm your host, Cindy Stickle, functional nutrition practitioner and certified menopause specialist. I'm here to guide you through the midlife noise so you can stop guessing, get the clarity you deserve, and finally take back control of your health. If you've ever felt dismissed, overwhelmed, or like your body just isn't responding the way it used to, you're in the right place. Let's rewrite the menopause story without the fluff. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of It's Not Just Menopause. Today's episode is a little different. I'm going to share something that I've been thinking about for a while, and honestly something I wasn't sure I would talk about publicly. But transparency matters. And if I'm going to ask you to trust me with your health, then I owe you the whole story. Okay? So here it is. I recently started on a GLP-1, the injectable kind with a needle. Yes, I'll get into that in a minute. I started on January 3rd. So when I'm recording this, I'm just in my third week. This episode will drop actually a week from today on January 26th. Okay. So I want to talk to you about through my thought process, right? Why I made the decision, what I'm experiencing, what I'm learning. Because here's the thing. I'm a functional nutrition practitioner. Okay. I had extensive training in that by a scientist. I have 2 holistic nutrition certifications. I have 2 macronutrition certifications. I am menopause certified, and that's not even counting my health and life coach transformational certifications. And I've been doing this work for over 7 years in the nutrition, being certified. I have actually been studying nutrition and changing things in my life for nearly 30 years due to my Hashimoto's, gestational diabetes and all that. So, as a business, it's been over 7 years, but in life, it's been 30. Okay. So I know what works for menopause. I know what doesn't. I teach nervous system regulation, blood sugar balance, hormone supportive nutrition, all of it. And I still needed help. So if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but your body isn't responding, right? Nothing you're doing is working. If you've ever wondered whether a GLP-1 is something you should consider, or if you felt shame or guilt about needing extra support, then this episode is for you. So let's talk about it. So here's some background you might not know about me, okay? I had gestational diabetes with both of my pregnancies, and we're talking 28 and 30 years ago. Okay, this is when it all happened. And if you don't know what that means, gestational diabetes is when your body can't regulate blood sugar properly during pregnancy. And for some women, it goes away after the baby's born, but for others like me, it was a warning sign. It meant that I was at higher risk of getting diabetes later in life. And, so I've been aware of it for the last 30 years. And it's a sign that your body is already struggling with insulin resistance. Hello, right? Then throw menopause on top of it. And a few years after my pregnancies, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. I have a multinodular goiter on my thyroid, which means my thyroid is enlarged and has nodules on it. I had a radio uptake scan, which meant I took a radioactive pill. They did an x-ray. I had a needle biopsy, all the things, right? And so if you know anything about Hashimoto's, you know it's an autoimmune condition where your immune system just seems to attack the thyroid, right? So this means my thyroid doesn't function the way it should, and it hasn't for 25 years, which means my metabolism doesn't function the way it should. Yes, I have had to struggle with that for 25 years. So needless to say, it's been hard for me to lose weight since my 30s. Not impossible, but hard, really hard. And it got so much worse in menopause. So back in my early 40s, before perimenopause really hit, I tried Nutrisystem. And I lost 20 pounds in 8 weeks. It was like easy peasy, right? It's like the commercials they show. I followed the plan, the weight came off, and I felt great. But then perimenopause hit a few years later, and then full-blown menopause, right? And everything changed. Suddenly, the things that used to work stopped working. I could eat the same. I could exercise the same. I could follow the same plan, and my body, nothing. And worse, I'd gain weight. And I know I'm not alone in this. So many of the women I work with say the same thing. I used to be able to lose weight no problem. Now nothing works. And that's because menopause changes everything. And this is basically, if you've listened to my podcast or followed me on socials, then you know this is what I've been saying for a long time. Your hormones shift, your metabolism slows, your insulin sensitivity drops, but your insulin resistance increases, and your cortisol totally dysregulates, right? It has a mind of its own. And suddenly your body is playing by a completely different set of rules. So 2 years ago, I decided to get serious about strength training, okay? I knew the research. I knew that strength training is one of the best things women in menopause can do for their metabolism, their bones, and their hormones. I wish I had started in perimenopause because then I would have been in a better position when menopause hit, but can't go back. So I did start 5 days a week, but I was super light as a beginner. Like I was starting with 5-pound dumbbells. Like I had never done it ever. So I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't lifting super heavy, and I was just being consistent. And I was doing different like legs one day and arms one day. And I didn't repeat each part of the body like 2 days in a row. And after 7 months, you want to know how much weight I lost? 10 pounds in 7 months. That's 0.7 of a pound per month. That's how resistant my body is to losing fat. I was doing everything right. As a macro coach, twice certified, I calculate my own macros. I don't use those apps. Those apps are so wrong when they calculate it. I tried this new app recently, and it told me I should eat 1,300 calories. And I even replied to them. I said, you've got to be kidding me. This is dangerous. This is not helpful to any woman at all. No one should be eating 1,300 calories a day. They should be eating way more. And so I calculate them by hand, like based on you. Okay. So I calculate my own macros. So I know what to eat. So I know I was eating enough protein. I was managing my stress. I was sleeping well. And I even started bioidentical hormone therapy, and that kickstarted some of the weight loss, but it barely, obviously. But I kept thinking, like, am I doing all of this? If I'm doing this everything, my body is still barely moving, what else can I do? So about a year ago, January of 2025, I tried the oral GLP-1 tablets, like the dissolvable ones. So I figured, let's see if this helps. And you know what? It did nothing. Tried it for like 6 months. Nothing. No weight loss. No nothing. So I was just like, whatever. So I just kept doing what I was doing. But then I was slowly, I had started a new training program. So I stopped doing strength training 5 days a week. And I did that for 2 months, and I started gaining weight. That's when I realized, yes, strength training, we have to keep doing it, even though what I was doing was technically like strength training, but it was a little different. So I was slowly gaining weight, not like a lot, but, I just knew that I needed to try something else at this point. I had gained back probably about 7 pounds of the 10 I had lost. Before we get back to today's episode, I've got a quick question for you. Feel like your body's in chaos, but your labs are normal? You're not crazy, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. If you've been told it's just menopause or to wait it out, it's time for real answers. Take my free quiz, What's Really Driving Your Menopause Symptoms. In under 2 minutes, you'll uncover your top hidden stressor and get my free guide, The Menopause Stress Fix, sent straight to your inbox. Head to cindystickle.com/quiz or click the link in the show notes. If you're doing everything right, but still feel like a mess, this quiz is your next step. All right, let's get back to today's episode. So, what made me finally say yes to an injectable GLP-1? I am very needle phobic, so just saying. So honestly, I was just tired of struggling. I was tired of doing everything right and watching my body barely respond. I was tired of losing 7/10 of a pound in a month. I was tired of watching my glucose levels stay higher than I wanted them to be. Even with all the blood sugar tracking balance, like all the blood work balancing I was doing. And recently my A1C had started to creep up, so I knew I had to do something. So as I was tired of feeling like I was in a constant battle with my own body, like most women in menopause. But here's the thing. I know my stuff. I know all the things. I've had 7 years of trainings. I'm not someone who doesn't understand nutrition or metabolism or hormones. I teach this for a living, and yet my body was still stuck. And I realized this isn't a knowledge problem. This is a physiology problem, and it's exactly what I teach my clients. This is when my functional nutrition practitioner background comes in handy. When all the surface level things don't work, that's when we have to actually go into the lab work and look like what is actually holding you up. Okay, so I am trained in this. So this is how I would take my clients through it. If all the other stuff didn't work, then we go deeper. And so my body with Hashimoto's, with insulin resistance, with menopause, was working against me. And no amount of trying harder was going to change that. So I had a choice. Keep white knuckling it and hope my body eventually responds, which deep down I knew it wouldn't. Or try something that could help support everything I was already doing. And I chose the latter. Here's what I decided to try. I'm doing an injectable GLP-1 and a GIP, which is more for the weight loss, and it has B12 in it. Specifically a microdose, because I didn't want the side effects. I'd heard all the stories about nausea, vomiting, digestive issues, and I thought, I don't want that. I don't want to feel sick. I don't want to feel miserable. I just want support. So I went with the microdose. And guess what? So far, like I said, as of this recording, I've given myself 3 injections. No nausea, no digestive issues, no nothing, no side effects. Other than some good side effects. Okay? And it's once a week, super easy. Now, like I said, I was needle phobic. Like I was afraid of the needle. I don't do well with needles. When I was like 10 years old, I was fighting off the doctor giving me a damn shot. So I was like, no. And I do have a glucose monitor, and oh my God, I would dread having to prick my finger because it hurts so bad the way it just jammed it in there. And so the idea of giving myself an injection once a week, oh my God, I was so nervous. But here's the thing, it doesn't even hurt because it's such a tiny little needle. I think it's the one that diabetics use for insulin. It's like so small that it goes in easy, and it literally takes, a few seconds depending on your dosage. I'm on 50 units, which is 2.5 milligrams. And so I push it in really slow. So maybe it takes 5 or 6 seconds, but I don't even feel the needle in there. So here's why I ultimately said yes to a GLP-1. For number one, longevity. A lot of people are using GLP-1s for longevity benefits, and that's obviously interests me too. I'm a total biohacker, right, for my health. And there's so much emerging research showing that GLP-1s can support cardiovascular health, which in menopause, yes, my blood pressure started going up because of the lack of my hormones, right? It reduces inflammation and potentially can lower the risk of chronic disease. And as someone with Hashimoto's and the history of gestational diabetes, I want all the longevity support I can get, right? Number two, hormonal support. I wanted to see if GLP-1 could help my body navigate the lack of hormones in menopause more effectively. Because here's the reality. even the bioidentical hormone therapy that I'm on, my body is still operating with less estrogen and less progesterone and a different hormonal environment than it had for most of my life. And that affects everything: metabolism, insulin sensitivity, inflammation, fat storage. So I was super curious, like, could a GLP-1 help my body adapt to a new hormonal reality? 3 was weight loss. I mean, who doesn't want to lose weight, right? Let's be real, I was tired of losing only 7/10 of a pound a month. So I want to see if this can help stimulate actual sustainable weight loss, but not just for vanity, but for health. Like, I just don't feel comfortable because carrying extra weight in menopause, especially around the midsection, increases my risk for heart disease, diabetes, and metabolic dysfunction, which my whole metabolic health has been tanked since gestational diabetes 30 years ago, and then Hashimoto's, right? And I honestly only have about 30 pounds to lose. So it's not like it's a lot of weight, but it makes me just feel uncomfortable. And number 4 is for glucose stability. That was my main thing, because when I saw my A1C creeping up, I was like, something has to be done. So knowing my history of gestational diabetes, and I know I'm insulin resistant, plus with menopause makes that even more so. I wanted to see if the GLP-1 could help regulate my blood sugar long term. Because even with all the blood sugar balancing work I was doing, protein at every meal, healthy fats, which menopausal women need, 40% of our calories need to be the healthy fats, way more than the younger people. And I was avoiding sugar spikes. My glucose levels were still higher than I wanted them to be. And I knew that insulin resistance was part of the problem. So I thought if the GLP-1 could help improve my insulin sensitivity and stabilize glucose, that's not just about weight loss, that's about long-term metabolic health. And that matters to me. And here's the thing I want you to really understand. I didn't do this instead of root cause work. I did this alongside it, because GLP-1 is not a magic pill or shot, right? It's a tool. And like any tool, it works best when you're supporting your body in other ways. So what am I doing alongside GLP-1? So I'm not taking it and hoping for the best, because that's what a lot of people do. They think, oh, I can take, I know diabetic people that take metformin and think they can take their metformin and eat whatever the hell they want. It's like, no, you can't do that. No, that's not how it works. Okay. I'm still doing everything that I teach. So here's what I'm doing. My nervous system regulation. Okay. I'm still prioritizing stress management, breath work, sleep anchors, right? Because if your nervous system is dysregulated, your hormones stay dysregulated. Your cortisol stays high, your insulin resistance gets worse, your metabolism stays stuck. So I'm still doing morning and evening routines that calm my nervous system, breathing exercises throughout the day. Like when my dog, my 100-pound puppy, is annoying me, I have to like take a step back and breathe. Sleep anchors to help me wind down at night, saying no to things that spike my stress unnecessarily. I'm using an amazing app that tells me when I'm really stressed. But because GLP-1s won't fix a dysregulated nervous system, like I said, they're not a magic pill. You can't just take it and think everything else is going to be like fixed. Number 2, high protein intake. I am still eating the extra amounts of protein women need in menopause, right? And I'm talking 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal, or sometimes more, because you need it to preserve your muscle mass, which we're already losing that in menopause anyway. That's why you need to strength train and eat protein. And then the muscles help protect your bones, which are brittle, right? And then stabilize the blood sugar, stay full and satisfied, support your metabolism. You burn more fat when you have more muscle, just saying, okay? Even when you're sleeping, it's burning, okay? And a GLP-1 can reduce your appetite, which means if you're not intentional about protein, you can start losing muscle instead of fat. So you have to make sure you get your protein first. And I'm not all about that, of like skipping my protein. Believe me, I'm making sure I'm getting enough protein every single day. Now, the third is healthy fats. Again, like I said, women in menopause, perimenopause included, you need 40% of your daily calories as healthy fats. Avocados, olive oil, nuts and seeds, fatty fish, eggs. Okay? Because what does it do? We need that extra fat to support hormone production, what is left, reduce inflammation, keep your brain sharp, and stabilize our blood sugar. And strength training. I'm still strength training consistently. I've added I'll talk about that in a second, but strength training for sure, because we want it to be preserving muscle mass. It boosts your metabolism, like I said, improves your insulin sensitivity. It supports your bone density because the muscles support your bones. And I'm still lifting, and I'm not lifting for a bodybuilding show, but I am adding progressive load because I do want to get stronger and just staying consistent. You just need a minimum of 2 days of strength training, and you need to rest in between, 48 hours of rest. In menopause, we need way more rest in between rougher workouts. So if you lift on a Monday, don't lift again until a Thursday. If you want to do a third day, then do it on a Saturday. And then you need the rest in there, okay? Now, this is what I've added to my workouts, Pilates. I'm laughing because, oh my gosh, I have found muscles I didn't even know I had. Okay, just saying. And this is at home. It's not on a big machine. I just have a Pilates little ring. Well, it's hard, the strong ring. I have the short bands, I have the long stretchy bands, and then I have the small little ball. And that's it. Oh my gosh, today's was, oof, the legs for sure. And I was like, okay, my legs are quivering. I can't take anymore. So it's definitely low impact, but it's so effective for building core strength, improving posture, and lengthening your muscles. And it's something that everyone should do, right? And I've been strength training for 2 years, and this is still like telling me I have extra muscles in there. And then my treadmill or my walking pad, depending on if I'm working on my walking pad. And I walk about 30 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, but I'm at a super slow pace because when we over-exercise in menopause, it stresses out our body, raises our cortisol, keeps the body fat. We don't lose weight. It's that vicious cycle. So I walk at 1.8 miles per hour, and then I slow it down as I'm going, okay? Think of it as just a casual walk outside, okay? We're not doing speed walking or anything like that. And I'm not trying to burn a ton of calories. I don't even look at calories. I look at macros. And I don't want my heart rate spiked because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to stress out my body. I'm just moving my body in a way that won't stress it, because in menopause, more is never better when it comes to exercise. And high intensity exercise spikes your cortisol, like I said. And if it's already high, then things are just going to get worse. So I go really, really, really slow. So here's the bottom line. GLP-1 isn't replacing any of this. It's amplifying it. It's helping my body respond to all the work I've already been putting in. And that's what I want you to understand. It's not a shortcut. It's a supportive tool. And it works best when you're doing the work, the root cause work, like I teach my clients. Okay? So here's where I'm at as I'm recording this, okay? I'm in week 3. When you hear this, I'll be starting my 4th week, but as of 2.5 weeks in, right? My glucose level started falling in week 1. I got a continuously monitor glucose monitor to wear, so I could just look at my app and look, and oh my gosh, I couldn't. And I'm still testing it with my finger prick too, and I can't believe how my fasting glucose levels used to be like 125, which for a non-diabetic was high, and now they're like 105 or 100 or even in the 90s. So it has gone down already. And I have lost 5.4 pounds so far. So almost 5.5 pounds, which I am excited about, but believe me, I'm not going to, I get so disappointed when I get my hopes up high. So I'm just like, I know I had some extra inflammation from the holidays because of eating gluten and stuff that just did not agree with me. But I'm excited about getting some of that weight loss going. So I'll keep you posted. But I know that I feel like my metabolism is finally waking up, right? Like my body is finally responding to the work I'm putting in. And that's what I'm here to document. Okay, so some things that I'm noticing, other things is I'm not starving all the time. I still drink my 40 grams of protein shake in the morning as I'm working out. and then I have lunch, and then I have dinner, and that's basically it. Last night I wanted some siete chips. That's the only chips I eat, so I had some of those, but I'm not really hungry. My energy is pretty stable. I'm not crashing. I'm not having, well, I've cut out sugar anyway, but I don't reach for caffeine throughout the day other than because I like the taste of coffee. But then I switched to decaf, so, I still get the coffee flavor. Um, I'm sleeping better. I don't know if this is directly related to the GLP-1 or if it's because my glucose is more stable, but I know as a menopause specialist that we do a lot of times women will wake up in the middle of the night, like 2 to 4 a.m., because their glucose is spiking and it wakes them up. So I know that the GLP-1 is helping me for sure. And of course, inflammation is going down, which of course anyone loves that. So those are the things that I'm monitoring, mostly my glucose and the weight, of course, and my muscle mass. I'm making sure I'm not losing muscle because I'm eating high protein and I'm strength training. Okay. Energy levels are good. My appetite's where I want it to be. But GLP-1 can reduce your appetite so much that you start to undereat. So you just have to be super careful. And if you undereat, especially protein, you're losing muscle. And that's the opposite of what we want in menopause. So I'm being very intentional about eating enough, even if I'm not as hungry. If I'm not as hungry, I'll just make sure I eat protein, like at least 20 grams of protein to get that protein in. So what I've learned so far about my body is it was definitely stuck in insulin resistance. And I knew that, but I was afraid of needles. So that's why I prolonged trying this. My metabolism was way more suppressed than I realized, which I probably knew that deep down anyway, because I've had metabolic problems in my body for 30 years. So I already knew my metabolism sucked. So, and this is what support looks like. I've spent years thinking I had to do everything on my own, that if I just tried harder, my body would respond. But you know what? Sometimes your body needs help, and that's okay. And that's what this is. Like I said before, this is a tool. Okay? This is a tool in the bigger picture of your health. So, again, I am wanting to share this with everyone because not many people share their journey. They only talk about weight loss, but I want to talk about with menopause because you're my audience. Okay. And if you want to try it, reach out to me. I'm about to be switching to a different wholesaler so we can get it cheaper. So get on my mailing list. I'll have a link in the show notes for getting on my list so that you can be updated on that. But don't let anybody make you feel like this is cheating or you're a failure or it's a shortcut, because it's not. It's a support tool, just like the bioidentical hormones I take, just like the thyroid medication I have to take, and just like any other intervention that your body needs. People take medications that other people don't to help their body. Like every body is different. And so we should stop blaming and shaming other people for what they're doing for their health. Okay? So reach out to me. I'm still teaching nervous system regulation. I am creating a group program, Menopause Reimagined Collective. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It kicks off on March 10th. I'll have a link in the show notes. I also have my one-to-one if you want that functional nutrition, like deep dive, and we go into the lab work and we like really figure out what's going on with your body. We do that in my one-to-one. But both programs still have my foundation: regulate, rebuild, and reinforce. So it's all the same that way. But thank you for listening. If you know another woman, especially in menopause, that is struggling with their metabolism, their metabolic health, and think this would be helpful for them, please share it with them. And also, please give reviews. It's not to like boost my ego. It's actually to boost the audience that can hear this. So the more reviews it has, the better, more people can hear it and see it and listen to it. So Reach out to me if this is something that you would like to learn more about. I will gladly talk to you about it. And this episode is a little longer than my normal ones, but it had a lot of information. So I will be in your headphones next week. Thank you for tuning in to It's Not Just Menopause. I hope today's episode gave you real clarity about what's actually going on in your body and reminded you that it's not just your hormones and it's definitely not your fault. If you found value in this conversation, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Cindy Stickle Nutrition or head to cindystickle.com for more resources and personalized support on your menopause and midlife health journey. Until next time, keep questioning what you've been told and trust that your body is not broken. You just need the truth and the tools that actually work.